Hi, I'm Christian Wall. I'm a professor of psychology at Wake Forest University, and what I thought I'd do is create a series of videos talking about coping with the coronavirus. I have expertise in stress and coping, and in this video what we're going to do is we're going to first start talking about resilience. So resilience is the idea that you can bounce back from whatever troubles you, or you can adapt and thrive through changing circumstances. What's really interesting about the word is that it came from metallurgy, where people would make metal objects like this. And what they would do is they would try to make some of the objects such that they bent, but they would come back to normal shape when they were done bending. This is a lot like resilience in people, where imagine stress and pressure and troubles and challenges kind of bending you one way. But then after they're done, or even despite them not being done, us being able to bounce back and get back to normal. There are three things I want to talk about with regards to resilience. The first one is there are different types of resilience. You can imagine being resilient to big things like the coronavirus. Like in 4 or 5 months when the coronavirus is done, how did you come through and adapt to it? Whether something big in your life happens, like a trauma or going to war, losing someone. There's also resilience to daily life, the daily things that are just going on in your life throughout your life. So whether you are able to get milk or not, or enough toilet paper, for example, just the little things as well. So it's really useful to think about those two types of resilience, because we ultimately want to be resilient to the big things and come out of this okay, but in doing so we might need to focus on being resilient to the small things, the everyday things. The second thing I want to talk about with regards to resilience is how ordinary it is. Back in the 50s, a group of researchers went to the Hawaii island of Kauai, and at that time the islanders were impoverished and they didn't know how to read, and they were having lots of diseases flowing through and lots of natural disasters, and there was a lot of huge environmental and economical stress on this community. And what the researchers did was they followed them throughout several decades to see how they ended up. Originally, the idea was, oh man, we're going to see how poor off these islanders are because of all these chronic stressors. What they found was something different. It was that a couple decades later, yeah, some of them had some issues, but most of them didn't. Somehow, a large majority of these impoverished islanders ended up doing fairly well. And that sort of launched this idea of ordinary resilience. That actually resilience is in most people, that we're built to be resilient, really. And that's important for understanding that it's within you, and it's not some special secret sauce type of thing. The second thing I want to talk about, or the third thing I want to talk about really is how resilience comes to be. You're not graced resilience at birth, right? You earn it and you learn it. There's a series of studies showing how those who have a moderate amount of significant stressors in their life are the ones who end up being the most resilient later on. Not the people who had zero things going on, and not the people who had a ton of things happening. Obviously, that can be problematic, but just a moderate amount of things. And what they discovered was that it was because people were learning to deal with stress. So sort of going back to this piece of metal I have here, the reason or the way people made these pieces of metal so resilient is by forging them repeatedly in fire. So you can imagine that that's a nice metaphor for what goes on with ourselves as well. That resilience is about forging ourselves in the fire of stress. So this might be a time for most people that forges them in that fire of resilience. So this concludes our first video today, talking about what resilience is. And what I like to do is have a series of these. In the next one, we'll talk about specific types of coping, and then we'll follow with other videos after that. So I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was helpful for you in this time of stress. My name is Christian Wall again, and please be well. Thanks.